Hey there, Melanie. How you doing? Okay, so first things first, I'm not really seeing much grid usage here. Let me explain to you why I'm saying that. Right now, the grid would have equal padding around all four areas. Right now, this type is residing right up to the page edge, but this one does have a little bit of a margin. So that indicates to me that there's no grid being followed here. Additionally, number three and number four I'm sorry, number two and number three are both center aligned, indicating no use of the grid. I mean, center alignment is just center alignment. You just place it in the center and there's no grid, right? So we want to use the grids. We want to do anything but center alignment in these, okay? Left alignment, right alignment. I don't really recommend combining left and or right alignment, but it does work in some situations. As a matter of fact, on textbook page 101, example 5-44, you can see where there's a mix of alignments here. But mostly on those examples on this page, they're all very well aligned, and we want to shoot for alignment. You have great alignment here, but we do not want to center align. I try to stay away from center align typography as much as possible. The reason for that is because it does not activate the negative space. It creates symmetry, which is very safe, but not very engaging. Okay, we can clearly see this negative space here is much more interesting than this kind of this symmetry created in the negative space associated with center alignment. Okay, so right now, in this composition, you are pressed up right against the page edge. Now, in terms of grid, a really great thing to do is establish an interior margin. Okay, then lay your grid within that interior margin, as opposed to laying the grid over the entire composition. If you lay your grid over the entire composition, you may not, what you want to do is just use that margin so you can create some ample padding on all four sides of the composition, so you don't have this situation where your type is writing right on the edge of the page. That's really, really super uncomfortable. It creates a horrible visual tension that's really, really uncomfortable. So you definitely want to think about that. Now, in order to do so, here's what it looks like. This grid is set to the interior margin, okay? And you can see each of the squares in here are equal, okay? So even if you place your type right here, you'll still have that padding right there. And in order to do that, let me go to InDesign. And in InDesign, in Illustrator, you have to do it manually, but in InDesign, right here, I've got the interior margin set up. I set that up when I set my document up. So right now, all we have to do is go to Layout, Create Grids, and then here, make sure you just check Fit Guides to Margins instead of Fit Guides to Page. Okay, and that will give you this result right here, where the grid is set to the interior margin as opposed to the outside perimeter of the pages. Okay, so once you get your grid set up and your margins would be equal, then we can go ahead and take a look at the rules of engagement, so to speak, here. So in the first design, we're looking for no contrast. Incisor weight and hierarchy should be based on grouping, but we don't have that here. All we have, there's no hierarchy here. So in other words, the only hierarchy is based on top to bottom. Theoretically, what's at top would be more important than what's at the bottom. So we have a little bit of hierarchy, but what you want to do here is let's get that margin in there and then move this over. And then what you want to do is create space in between 66, GT350, and the rest of the descriptions here. That will create hierarchy by grouping. All right, second composition, we're looking for one new size and one new weight. Right now, I don't see any new sizes or any new weights. These are all the same, okay? So basically, it's not saying to add a new weight to this. It's saying keep your composition, keep your text as it is here, add one new size and one new weight to emphasize hierarchy, okay? I'll give you some examples in a second, really great examples to look at to give you a further understanding of this. You don't want to center align these at all. Okay, where was I? Oh, here we are. Yeah, stay away from center alignment, Delia. It doesn't work well. I don't center align typography. I haven't in close to 30 years. The only time I center align anything is if it's a formal invitation like a black tie or a black tie dinner or a wedding invitation. But I still do use horizontal grids. So my recommendation is to stay away from center alignment in this assignment. Okay, third design, multiple contrast and weight and scale. And you got it, that's good, but let's get that alignment. Okay, and then the fourth is multiple. That's great alignment. This is a fan. I love this. This piece is outstanding. outstanding. My only recommendation here is to increase the size of this title a little bit. But you've got your bleeding in two areas. You got wonderful hierarchy, good grouping, great alignment. Okay, now, as promised, I was going to give you some resources for examples. I don't know if you've looked at this yet, Melanie, but take a look at page 101 in the textbook. It's phenomenal. It's a great, it shows you, there's 9 examples here of how to create hierarchy based on emphasis, and that emphasis is grouping, changes in contrast based on scale, changes in contrast based on weight. There's even one that adds some color, but we're not going to add color. This is to be a black and white, right? So take a look at that. Again, it's page 101 of the textbook. Definitely want to review that before you get into your final submission. All right, good job, great start. If you have any questions at all, please let me know. Thank you very much.